How do we prove atheists only have two options for the origin of the universe? As we've already covered, T has two acronyms which have been so broadly defined that it's logically impossible for an atheist to ever present a third option. No one has ever been able to do it, and no one ever will. I'll step out on my Joe Namath limb here and make a prediction. This, in fact, is a guarantee, and I'll offer anyone $5,000 if they can prove that it's a false dichotomy. So let me say this. Technically, I don't even need to prove this claim. It's the axiomatic logical rule of an excluded third. Sometimes you prove by logic, you don't always prove the logic. Let me explain what I mean. Logic is axiomatic. It's the proper way of reasoning about things. Logic is a given. Anyone who denies it and who doesn't think logically is considered, therefore, an irrational person. Secondly, we can demonstrate the claim that atheists only have two options by providing formal definitions to our opponents and then referring them to human logic and the law of non-contradiction. For example, if I claim there is either a God or there is not a God, there would be no sufficient evidence which I could provide to make a person accept that these, in fact, are the only two choices. So how would I prove to a rational person that these, in fact, are the only two options that exist? Well, I would simply appeal to human logic, the law of non-contradiction, and provide the formal definitions of God, and then challenge them to prove that some other option could logically exist. They wouldn't be able to do so because logic proves that these, in fact, are the only two choices that can exist. The same is true with STE and SCPN. I provide the formal definitions to my opponent, appeal to human logic, and then challenge them to prove that some other option could possibly exist. They cannot. This is how we prove that no other option exists. Think of it like this. If something exists, then something was eternal in the past without beginning, or something came from pure nothingness. This is what I've coined the law of existence. This law is a universal absolute. It remains a statement of logical necessity and cannot be undermined. The only way to prove this law invalid would be somehow show it's illogical or to present a third option. Whether you suggest some kind of eternal cycle, space-time which just popped into existence, a form of space on its own without time, or something else, at a foundational level, it'll all fit into this paradigm. You may be saying, what about a cause that was responsible for our universe's existence, but itself no longer exists? This simply pushes the question back further and effectively makes no difference. Furthermore, to this proposal, I would simply ask, what is the true origin of the cause you're presenting? Was it eternal in the past without true beginning, or did it begin to exist at some point? Then I would get into the 7 fundamental questions and start to break down this option to a foundational level. You see, for someone denying God's existence or disbelieving in the existence of a God or gods, such as atheists, something could not both exist and not also be the product of either STE or SCPN, because that would be a logical contradiction. With that being said, the atheist must remember that asserting a false dichotomy is not the same as proving one. If the atheist makes the claim that there in fact are more options than the two presented, then they have the burden of proof to prove. Good luck, atheists. Atheism has been refuted.